in this environment, when trust and authority seem to have plummeted, what has given people enough trust of each other that they are willing, for example, to let a stranger come into their house to sleep? So Paolo Parigi is a professor in sociology here at Stanford University, and he is pioneering the research on the engineering of trust. Paolo.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you for inviting me here. So what I'm going to talk today is an online experiment that we are still running as we speak. So I will have some preliminary data, but I hope it's interesting enough for this audience. So the engineering of trust, the field experiment. We know that trust is a fundamental aspect of relationships, and it makes a society function better. Kenneth Arrow, for example, argued that lack of trust makes collective undertakings difficult, and that an agreement to trust each other cannot be both. Others have emphasized how trust solves the problem with complexity. That is, if you trust others, you don't have to build complex organizations to control the behavior of others. And finally, Fukuyama argued that lack of trust makes organizations more complex and hierarchical. So trust is very important for society, for relationships, for the economy. Yet we see lots of variation among different nations. This is just a sample of different countries where somebody recorded a general trust. So you can see that we have Denmark, Sweden, and Scandinavian countries to have higher level on average of general trust. This is just a standard survey. You will find hundreds of these even going online now. Then you have other countries with lower levels of trust, Uganda, Romania, Peru, for example. Now, this is interesting. Trust is important, yet there is a lot of variation in different societies on general trust. How much do we trust others? The question that we want to explore with this project is, can we use technology to build interpersonal trust? So now I'm not talking just about trust in institutions, trust in political processes, interpersonal trust. Do I trust Martha? How can I? Yes. Thank you, Martha. I hope this is reciprocated. So can we use technology to build trust? Now, perhaps here at Stanford you know the answer, maybe yes, but let me tell you the motivation behind all of this work, and there was something that Martha was mentioning at the beginning. So we developed this research idea by studying the members of a particular organization called Couchsurfing. How many of you are familiar with Couchsurfing? Perfect. That's exactly what I imagined, because younger people tend to be more familiar with Couchsurfing. Now, what is this? Couchsurfing, for those of you that are not familiar with, is what the name suggests. People register on Couchsurfing, Couchsurfing is going through rough times now. So you register as a Couchsurfer, and then you go and visit the house of a perfect stranger, your host, and you sleep on his or her couch. This is an example of one Couchsurfing community in London during the period from 2006 to 2011. That's the data that we had. We had this data for all the communities all over the world. This is just a representation of London. You can actually go on YouTube and find more of these videos that we made. I can give you the references later. So here you see each node. This is a network. Each node is a person, and there are ties. This means that these two people are friends with each other. The ties have two different colors, and I'm not sure if this comes across. They're blue and they're red. You don't see that many red ties. The difference between blue and red is that blue ties are people that knew each other from before. So two friends that decide to join Couchsurfing. And red ties are people who actually became friends because of Couchsurfing. Somebody was the host, somebody else was the guest. And now we can animate this video This is recorded month by month from 2007 to 2000. I'm sorry, from 2006 to 2011. And you can see that the network is growing in density. There are more nodes appearing. There are more ties appearing. But all of a sudden, you will see that there is a larger number of red ties developing. That is, couchsurfing is bringing people of different, that didn't know each other together and to form a friendship ties. Potentially a ties that is based on trust as well. So we animated all of these. You see here, for example, here is a cluster. See the red ties? What the red ties are doing, they are bridging different clusters of previous existing friendship. So you can see it pretty clear there. This dynamic, this is London, but we had the same videos for many major cities in the US and in the world, and it's pretty much the same. It repeats itself all the time. And it becomes, at one point, it becomes all truly interconnected. See the red ties right in the middle. Now, is this specific to couchsurfing? Is trust just something that people who were strange enough, crazy enough, brave enough to sign up on couchsurfing, had they some sort of a predisposition to form friendship and trust relationships? A great question. Selection bias. Right? In another language, I can say this is a selection bias. We are now randomly assigned people to couchsurfing. So we decided, after studying this, we decided to extend this analysis and to look not just at couchsurfing, but to many other companies that are operating in the same space where couchsurfing operates, what is called the sharing economy. The peer-to-peer economy is another label used to describe company like Airbnb, Lyft, TaskRabbit, UberX. There's so many actually, and most of them are here in San Francisco in the Valley. So our goal with this new study is to study participants in the sharing economy and to measure how their trust toward general others changes as the result of participation experiences in these companies. So this is not just trust toward another members of that company, but trust toward general others. We make two assumptions to carry on this project. The first is that the trust levels of participants would have, on average, remain pretty much stable during the period of our analysis, which is now, had not been for their participation in one of these companies. And that recruited participants are a representative sample of the subpopulation of sharing economy members. If we hold this, if these two assumptions hold, then we can estimate what is normally referred to the treatment effect on the treatment. Now, I'm going to skip this part, but this is just to give you the research design. This is what we are doing now. So there's a website, and then once you get on the website, you are randomized into one of these three groups, and we ask you to play games, depending on where you are. There are different waves. We are finishing wave 1, and we are starting wave 2. Now, the website looks like this. You see the exchange. It's the name of the website. Here is where you register. First, we measure your risk profile. This is a way to segment the participants, because trust is correlated with risk. So it may be that certain people are more willing to form trust relationships because they're risk takers. So this is a way for us to segment that population. And so we can measure the risk profile. The game is actually fairly simple. It's one of those things that it takes forever to explain. So I'm going to skip this. And then, after we have segmented you on the basis of your risk profile, we ask you to play the investment game. Classic investment game. You're given a certain amount of money, and you don't know the other person, and you have to decide how much to invest. And then that person, the other person, returns a certain amount. By measuring how much you invest, we have a measure of how much you trust the other person. So this is more about the experiments. Just want to say that we spend lots of time to figure out cute images of animals and flowers to not bias the results. That actually took quite a long time. Yeah, everybody has opinions on flowers and animals. You know, it's pretty difficult. So here, once you complete the experiment, we give you a gift card that varies between $5 and $10. We build a representative sample by connecting with the companies that are part in the sharing economy. Some of them, not all of them. We hope to increase the sample. So if you know somebody in one of these companies, please advertise this study. Now, what I want to show you, in the interest of time, is some of the descriptive statistics of the people who are now in our experiment. We roughly have 600 people. We sent 5,000 emails, and we had 600 people in the experiment. They are completed. But for these 600 people, we are collecting lots of data, correct? They come on the website, and we control that website. So we ask a question about trust or cannot trust. You can see that majority of people think that others can be trusted. There is a difference in gender, and a significant age also has an effect on this variable, whether people can be trusted. The risk profile is interesting. You see that we have quite a large number of people here on the risk adverse. But overall, it's pretty balanced. It's not a bad distribution. It's pretty balanced. Here we have some of the companies that members are participating in this experiment are coming from. We have Lyft. Some of them are familiar names: Airbnb, Lyft. Others less: Home Exchange, Free Cycle, TaskRabbit is another company. And what is interesting is that most of these people are participating in many of these sharing economy companies, not just one. And so here I'll show you some of the initial results. This is how many of these companies you participate in too. And we can see that there is, depending, so race has a negative effect. African Americans, Black, are less likely to participate in multiple sites. We see age also has a negative effect, and cannot trust also has a negative effect. That is, if you believe, as we expected, that most people cannot be trusted, you're less likely to participate in many of these sharing economy communities, which is what we would expect. This is kind of a validity test that we are not doing crazy things. Now, what I want to show you here, because I'm running out of time on these graphs, but the interpretation of these graphs here, because we are analyzing how they're playing the games, essentially here is the interpretation of the preliminary findings. Participants do not differentiate between sharing economy and non-sharing economy members when they play this game, in how they place trust. They react to the strategies of the robots that they encounter in the games. In particular, the amount returned differs between sharing economy and non-sharing economy, whether or not they were defected by the robot. And so there are some implications that are interesting. Experiences in the sharing economy will impact measures of behavioral trust, both within group trust toward other sharing economy members and general trust toward others, so toward building a community. And reputation is a more important factor when facing a sharing economy players than when facing a non-sharing economy players. I'm out of time. Thank you. And this is obviously a project with a large research group. It's not just me.